We are all heartbroken for Dak and this very disappointing injury. The outpouring of messages that I've received regarding his setback speaks volumes to the respect and admiration that he has earned from his teammates, former Cowboy players, and Cowboy supporters everywhere. And we have no doubt he will return to the position of leadership and purpose that he brings to our team. So let me bring Dan Graziano into the conversation to begin this, our insider. Dan, what can you tell us about the status of the injury, the surgery last night? What do we know?
The Cowboys put out a statement this morning, Greeny, that said that Prescott's surgery last night was successful and he is expected to be released from the hospital today. So that's good news, and he begins, obviously, a long and difficult recovery. The expectation, based on similar injuries in the past, from what I was told last night in Dallas, is about a 4 to 6 month recovery, which puts him in, March, right around the time free agency would be starting, coincidentally enough, when we talk about Dak Prescott.
Well, there's nothing in the world we want to talk about less but must than the contractual situation involving Dak. It has been perhaps the most discussed thing in pro football over the course of this year. And we are all aware of where he sits on the franchise tag. The next time he's ready to play football, that tag will have expired. So what does all of this mean as far as his football future, Dan?
Well, the Cowboys' options with Dak are pretty much what they were before the injury. They cannot negotiate a long-term deal with him until after their season is over. That's the rule for your franchise player. He gets his $31.4 million guaranteed this year. That was always the case. So he'll be an unrestricted free agent in March, and they can either franchise him again for $37.7 million, they could do a long-term deal with him, or they could let him hit the free agent market. I would guess that the franchise tag is the most likely option, but it's not going to be super easy for the Cowboys in a year where the salary cap is expected to drop.
All right, Dan Graziano will continue to work this for us and has more for us a little bit later. But let me bring it out to the table here again. Rex is here and Dan is here and RC is with us this morning. Rex Ryan, I'll start with you. As you watched that unfold yesterday, what thoughts were in your mind?
The first thing is man, oh my God. And we all know what Dak's gone through, and we all know the contract situation, but you just feel so bad for this young man. And, Jerry Jones talks about Cowboy fans or, all the support and everything else. No. It's bigger than that. It's the NFL fans that are mourning this injury. Everybody's mourning this injury right here. We feel, absolutely horrible for this young man, and I think I speak for any NFL fan about that.
Danny?
Yeah, I think in that moment takes everybody on an emotional journey, and your heart sinks. Knowing Dak's, kind of journey off the field, and then the performance on the field, and then the contract negotiation, I felt that pain. Like watching him on the field, watching the coaches rush out there, watching the teammates, both teams rush out there, I just felt that emotion. I felt it. And then, Greeny, we throw around the phrases in sports like brotherhood or family because they're real to us as players. They're real. And just when he's getting carted off and you hear the crowd chanting, and I watched him raise that fist up, that was emotional for me at home. It's the defining image of the NFL season so far. And even if you're not a Dallas Cowboys fan, there's no debating that he's their franchise player. He's their franchise quarterback, an unquestioned leader. So my heart sinks for him. It was a really tough moment. But I think that in that moment, you see the galvanizing or just the special quality he has to be an incredible leader of men.
It's really well said. RC, what thoughts went through your mind?
The thing that was going through my mind is I couldn't separate the ugliness of the physicality of football from the ugliness of the business of football. That was the hard part for me as I'm watching Dak Prescott hold his leg with the bottom of his cleats pointed away from his body. And as he's waving over the trainers, I think about what I would be thinking in this position. I think about having your career flash before your eyes, maybe thinking that you'll never be the same, you'll never be as good as you are, or if you'll ever play the game again. And then I immediately went to, but he doesn't have security, and he doesn't have the money that he deserved. He doesn't have the money that he earned. Will he get the money that he's always wanted. And I know for many people it'll be, well, it's always about the money. It's always about the contract. It is. The reason that we play this game and we start to play this game is because we love it. And then we often realize that once you get to the highest level of ball, the way that people tell you they love you is about how much they're willing to invest in you, how much they're willing to pay you. And so Dak Prescott, he did bet on himself. And Dak Prescott knew that injury was a possibility. But the way that we think, the way that we feel is, I might sprain an ankle, I might hurt a knee. You never think you get to a point to where your bone is sticking out of your leg. You don't think you get to a point to where you can't do what you love. And so even though I was devastated for him, I was heartbroken for him, I thought to myself how all of his teammates need to be there to support him emotionally and mentally during this time because he's had such a tough year. I then went to, will Jerry Jones do the right thing? Because Jerry Jones never separated, never let personal feelings get into business. But at that point, personal feelings and business were one and the same.
All right, so there's all of those things. And there's probably no football player we have talked about on this show over the last 2 years more than we have about Dak Prescott and his contract. And there he is all of a sudden lying there with his foot facing in the wrong direction and tears in his eyes. And it all becomes extraordinarily real. So now, Rex, you're the coach of that football team and you go into that locker room after they did pull out a win. What do you say to the players? What does the coach say?
Well, first off, it's about Dak. It's not about that game. And, you know, Dak, that injury and Dak is a hell of a lot bigger than a game. And, yeah, it's great that you won. And you've got to eventually, you know, that's what today's about. And maybe the days after are going to be about, all right, let's move forward. But it's about Dak.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.